Welcome to the Dr. Mudgil podcast. This is episode 150. We are officially in October. Yes, fall is officially really here. The leaves on the trees are turning colors, and it really feels like fall. It's the month of October. More importantly for me, it's the month of two of my kiddos' birthdays coming up in a week and a half or so. So it's exciting. And we've already had an exciting day today. So which is going to be fodder for this podcast. So this morning I was on a local TV show called New York Living, which is on for the folks in the New York area on Channel 11 or WPIX, and it was a lot of fun. And the segment of the show was sort of debunking some myths, or it was like, are these statements true or false? It was kind of it was a fun little segment with the hosts, and during the week, kind of working with the producers, we kind of came up with like 5 potential misconceptions in dermatology, and I figured it'd be kind of fun to go into these a little bit in depth, because on the show it's like very succinct. It was like maybe a 5 or 6 minute segment where we're just like firing through this stuff. But I thought some of these things and misconceptions and topics that we discussed were very interesting, and I think very relevant to probably some things that folks out there may believe are true. So here we go. So it's going to be we're going to start from the top and work our way down. So the first thing, the first misconception was eating chocolate causes acne. And that, really, so there would be this statement, and it's like, is this a true statement or is this a false statement? So it turns out that it's not chocolate that causes acne, but in folks that are predisposed, it's the sugar that can cause acne. High glycemic index foods, like really refined carbs, just like, sugar, candy, cakes, pasta, white rice, that sort of stuff. Those cause an insulin spike. And in folks who are predisposed to acne, when you have an insulin spike, insulin is a very powerful hormone. It does lots of things in the body. Obviously, it regulates our blood sugar levels, but it also has direct effect on lots of different cell types. For instance, it affects our oil glands, and it increases sebum, which is oil production from our oil glands. And if you have acne or you're predisposed to having acne, that's not a good thing, because acne is kind of like a multifactorial process where your oil is released, and that can stimulate some bacterial growth, and then your immune system gets involved, and you have this like perifollicular inflammatory process, and sometimes it can be cystic. But one of the key components is actually sebum, because it's, it creates an opportune background for all of the players that participate in forming acne. It gives them fertile ground to kind of do their thing. So it's not the chocolate, it's the sugar. Sugar, when you consume sugar with that insulin spike, it also stimulates the cells in your body that make androgens. So acne is like a very complex process, and androgens have a direct effect on our oil glands, which also increase sebum production, and again promotes this pro-acne, this acne-kind environment in our skin. Dairy has also been somewhat associated with acne in the predisposed, but it's actually the insulin spike that you get from consuming milk. Milk is very high in carbohydrates, and lactose gets broken down to glucose and galactose, and that causes a pretty massive insulin spike when milk is consumed. So for that reason, it's thought that milk being a high glycemic index food causes an insulin spike. It's really insulin that's the player here. So again, it's not the chocolate that causes acne. If you eat like dark chocolate that doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, it's not really going to stimulate your acne, or it's not going to stimulate your acne. But if you eat like milk chocolate that has tons of sugar in it, usually it's like the second ingredient in like a chocolate bar or candy, that's not going to be good for you if you're acne prone. So something to think about. Second thing, is higher SPF better than lower SPF? Now, this is somewhat of a loaded question. So on the lower end of the SPF spectrum, this is actually true. So SPF 15 provides you 93% protection against UVB rays in sun. And UVB rays are the rays that cause genetic changes in our skin, which can lead to skin cancer. SPF 30 protects you against 97% of the UVB rays in our sunlight. Anything beyond 30, you're basically chasing that last 3%, and you're never going to get to complete 100% protection. So what I tell my patients is pick a minimum SPF 30. If it's higher, no problem. That's fine. But you really need to look at the active ingredients in sunscreen. So sunscreens either have a chemical component, or they have a mineral component, or they have both. And what I recommend my patients use is something that it's at least an SPF 30 and has a mineral component. It doesn't have to be an entirely mineral-based sunscreen, although those are the ones that I actually personally prefer. But a lot of sunscreens are a combination. So it'll have like some of the chemical sunscreen ingredients, and it'll also have a mineral component, which is fine, as long as it's an SPF 30 and has a mineral component. The reason why the mineral component is important is that it actually creates a physical block against our sun's rays. So not only are you getting protection against skin cancer, but you're also just protecting your skin from the sun's rays. So it's going to prevent things like sunspots, breakdown of collagen, dilation of blood vessels, things that are associated with photo damage or photo aging of our skin. So the higher the SPF, it is better, but really kind of only up to 30. So like there's a big difference between 15 and 30. Anything beyond 30 has like negligible value add, but make sure your sunscreen has either titanium dioxide or zinc oxide in it. That is hugely beneficial. All right, the next one. Vitamin E helps scars fade. This is one we hear all the time. And the truth is vitamin E plays no role in helping scars fade. There's actually literally no science behind that. The best way to manage scars is actually managing the acute injury. So when you have like a cut or a scrape or something like that, really optimizing the healing of that wound is the most important thing. So, proper wound care, make sure the wound is clean, keeping the wound moist with, like with Aquaphor or Vaseline or something analogous to that. And then once the wound has kind of healed and it's, just like a dry scab, or, just at its early stages of becoming a mature scar, then things like, silicone gels, silicone creams, mineral-based sunscreens, those things play a big role in optimizing the healing of that scar. And then ultimately, when the scar is mature, meet with your board-certified dermatologist if it still bothers you. And then there's some prescription topical creams, like Retin-A, for instance, can be helpful. And there's a bunch of different laser treatments that can also be helpful. So there really is no role for vitamin E in scar care. All right, the next one. Natural ingredients are always better. I hate this one because I get it all day long. And I'm sure every doctor feels the same way. A lot of our patients will come to us and say, hey, I only want to use natural products, or I only use natural products. And, I don't know why I'm getting this rash, or, I only want to treat this problem with natural products, or whatever, they may say. And to that, my answer is cocaine, poison ivy, and tobacco are all natural products, but doesn't mean you want to be using them. Really, when you're picking a product for whatever your problem may be, or for whatever your skincare regimen may be, you want to pick ingredients that have efficacy, that have scientific backing, that have studies that support their use and support their benefit. Hey, if it's a natural product that does that, great. But a lot of the natural products that folks use either have no efficacy at all, or they create problems. So when you're picking your products, natural is not always better. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with natural. If it's a natural product that works well and has efficacy for whatever the problem may be, fine. I have no problem with that. But if it doesn't, using a synthetic or man-made product is frequently the answer. So that's that. Next one, shaving makes your hair grow back thicker. We hear this all the time. Now listen, for all you Indians out there, I'm of Indian descent. When we were kids, our parents wouldn't let us shave, so there were all these like 7th graders walking around with mustaches because our parents would tell us if we shave, we're gonna get like a thicker beard. It's gonna be a big problem. Not that, I don't know why it would be a big problem to have a thicker beard. I don't know if anyone's ever really complained about that, but the girls weren't allowed to shave their legs, or you weren't allowed to shave your underarms, or, for us boys, you weren't allowed to shave your face. And, I still see that going on now. It's a big misconception. And the truth is, shaving has no impact on hair growth, on hair thickness, or any of that stuff. Look at this dome. I've been shaving this thing for 25 years. If that were true, I would have literally the thickest head of hair known to man. But unfortunately, I don't. The root of the hair follicle is far below the surface of the skin, and that's where the stem cells live. The activity of those stem cells at the root of our hair follicle are what determine the health, the thickness, the volume of hair that we have. Shaving has nothing to do with it. When you shave, you're basically just snipping off the dead part of your hair. Hair is dead. It's that stem cell that lives, a little bit deeper down in our skin at the root of the hair follicle. That's where all the magic happens. That's where all the action happens. That's where it's determined, like what color your hair is going to be, how thick it's going to be. Is it going to be straight? Is it going to be curly? All that sort of stuff. Shaving has absolutely nothing to do with it. And with science behind me, I actually let my kids shave the minute they had any peach fuzz. So, I think one of my sons, when he was 8 years old, started getting a little fuzz, and he was like a little self-conscious about it. I said, let's just shave that, buddy. And there's nothing wrong with that. So those were like the top 5 skincare myths that we debunked this morning. I hope this will provide some clarity for any of you out there that have similar quandaries about any of the things we just discussed. With that, I hope you all have a wonderful, restful weekend. Let's get it.